win, go win, go win, go win, go win, man, go win.
Let's transition to a Monday night matchup in Detroit as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions will face off. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5-1, are traveling to Detroit to take on the 4-2 Detroit Lions. The Lions are favored by 5.5 points. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff in Detroit. The over-under for this matchup is 52.5 points. So, let's start off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has been balling for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield for the season, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1,539 passing yards. He's completing 66% of his passes. When I look at Baker Mayfield, these are Baker Mayfield's ranks this season. Baker Mayfield's 5-1. That's NFL ranked tied for first. His total yards per game, he averages 283 yards per game. That's ranked 4th in the NFL. His touchdown to interception ratio is 12-1. That's ranked 2nd in the NFL. And his passer rating is 108.5, which is ranked 6th in the NFL right now. Baker Mayfield is balling. And against the 49ers in week 6, Baker Mayfield, he scored 30 points in that game. And the Buccaneers offense, they had 352 total yards of offense. And Baker Mayfield in that game, 17 for 23. He threw for 256 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And the most impressive thing about Baker Mayfield right now, and this is the reason why Baker Mayfield is the NFL MVP. Baker Mayfield is playing at such an elite level, he's doing it without his playmakers. In that game against the 49ers in week 6, no Bucky Irvin, no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, no Emeka Egbuka, who left the game with an injury, no Jalen McMillan. Okay? So he is having these elite performances without his top playmakers in that Buccaneers offense. And that is the definition of the NFL MVP. Baker Mayfield is balling. There was one play where the 49ers, they had Mayfield dead to rights. Behind the line of scrimmage, it was going to be a significant loss. Baker Mayfield was able to get out of that. He was able to pick up a first down for the Buccaneers and keep that drive alive. So Baker Mayfield is playing at an elite level. And right now, through the first 6 weeks of the season, Baker Mayfield is the undisputed NFL MVP. That's how great Baker Mayfield has been playing so far this season. And because Baker Mayfield has been playing so great this year, the Buccaneers, when you look at their statistics overall as an offense, they're ranked 7th in the NFL in passing yards per game. They average 244 passing yards per game. They average 28 points per game, which is ranked 6th in the NFL. Emeka Egbuka has been a significant person in this offense. He's played very, very well. And Baker Mayfield, this is Baker when targeting Egbuka this season. Passing yards per game, 89. That's ranked 3rd in the NFL. Yards per pass attempt, 11.7. That's ranked 2nd in the NFL. Touchdown to interception ratio when passing to Egbuka, ranked 1st. Passer rating when passing to Egbuka, 145.3. That's ranked 1st in the NFL. So in the absence of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka has really, really stepped up and been a tremendous player in this Buccaneers offense that has helped the Buccaneers move the football. Now, he got injured in the Week 6 game against the 49ers. He left that game with a hamstring injury. So his status against the Lions right now, he's listed as questionable. And that's what's crazy about the Buccaneers right now. Once they get back Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Emeka Egbuka, it's going to take this Buccaneers offense to another level. And they will be a top 5 offense and will have a arguably the best trio in the NFL at receiver with Mike Evans, with Chris Godwin, and with Emeka Egbuka at the receiver position. I don't think you can name 3 better receivers as a trio than Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Emeka Egbuka. So right now, the Buccaneers are playing some great football. They are 5-1 on the season, and they have gave themselves significant margin for error even in the second half of the season because they are 5-1, and they have the Lions this week. Week 8, they are in New Orleans. That's a win. And Week 10, they're home against the Patriots. That's a toss-up because Drake May and the Patriots are playing well. Week 11, they are in Buffalo against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. That's a toss-up. And Week 12, they are in LA against Matthew Stafford and the Rams. But check these games out at the end of the season for the Buccaneers. Week 13, they are home against the Cardinals. That's a win. Week 14, they are home against the Saints. That's a win. Week 15, they are home against the Falcons. That's a toss-up because in Week 1 against the Falcons, the Buccaneers, they had a late game-winning drive, so they were able to beat the Falcons. But that's a game that could go either way. Division games go either way. They are toss-up games. So that Week 15 matchup against the Falcons could be a toss-up. But here are their final 3 games, the Buccaneers. Week 16, they're in Carolina. That's a win. Week 17, they're in Miami against the Dolphins. Who knows where the Dolphins will be at that time of the season? That will be a win for the Buccaneers. And then Week 18, against the Panthers, they are home. So that's a win as well. So those final 6 games for the Buccaneers, Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins, Panthers, they could go 5-1 in those final 6 games. The only game I can see them possibly losing is to the Falcons in Week 15. So they have gave themselves great margin for error. They can lose some of these games and still be a playoff team in the NFC South. Now, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. The Lions are coming off of a Week 6 loss against the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost that game 30-17, and Brian Branch, their defensive back, got into a scuffle at the end of that game with Juju Smith-Schuster. He is suspended for this matchup against the Buccaneers, so he will be out in that game. And I'm looking at the Detroit Lions. The Lions, they are 4-2 going into this game against the Buccaneers. But my question for the Lions is going to be, when are the Lions going to actually win a meaningful game against a good team? Because after the Lions beat the Bengals in Week 5, they beat the Bengals in Week 5, 37-24. I kept hearing from family and friends and NFL analysts about how great the Lions are as a football team. Yeah, the Lions, they look great against these cupcake football teams like the Cincinnati Bengals, like the Cleveland Browns, like the Baltimore Ravens, and the Chicago Bears. When you go up against inferior competition, the Detroit Lions, they can score 50. But when they play against teams like the Chiefs in Week 6, they only score 17 points. When they play against teams like the Packers in Week 1, they only score 13 points. So to me, yes, the Detroit Lions are a good football team. They have Jared Goff as their quarterback. They have Sonic and Knuckles and Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery as their running backs. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams as your receivers. And you got Sam Laporta, a young, really, really good tight end in their offense. But when are they going to actually beat a good football team? Because the Bears, Ravens, Browns, and Bengals do not qualify as good football teams in my eyes. So I want to see how the Lions perform in this Week 7 matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because Baker Mayfield is playing at an elite level and playing the quarterback position really, really well right now. And he's the best quarterback in the NFL currently. So how will the Lions perform against Baker Mayfield? I'm looking at a Jared Goff. Jared Goff, he is also in the MVP conversation for the season. 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1,390 passing yards. He's completing 76% of his passes. So Jared Goff is playing the quarterback position at an elite level for the Detroit Lions. But the strength of their football team is their rushing attack with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. Their rushing attack is ranked 8th in the NFL. They average 129 rushing yards per game. So they do a tremendous job opening up running lanes for Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. The Lions, as a team, they average 32 points per game. That's ranked 2nd in the NFL. But again, when you're going up against teams like the Bears, the Browns, the Bengals, the Ravens, you're going to score a lot of points. You're going to be able to score a lot of points. Let's see how they perform against a NFC contender in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. Now, defensively, I feel like the Lions, they have room for improvement. They give up 24 points per game. That's ranked 28th in the NFL. I'm sorry, they give up 24 points per game. That's ranked 18th in the NFL. So there's room for improvement. And against the Chiefs, I thought they allowed Patrick Mahomes to pretty much have his way in that game. I mean, for the game, the Chiefs, they had 112 rushing yards. They had 243 passing yards. So they had 355 total yards of offense. And the Lions, they did not do a good job at being able to contain Patrick Mahomes. I thought Patrick Mahomes had one of his best games so far this season against the Lions defense. He went 22 for 30. He threw for 257 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. So I want to see how that Lions defense performs against Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers offense. On the flip side, Lions offense versus the Buccaneers defense. The Lions offense against the Chiefs, in their first 2 drives, 10 points, they averaged 7.1 yards per play, 56 rushing yards. They went 3 of 4 on 3rd and 4th downs. The rest of the game, 7 points. They averaged 4.7 yards per play, 42 rushing yards, and they went 2 of 9 on 3rd and 4th downs. So they did a tremendous job on schedule in their first 2 drives. But after their first 2 drives, the Lions offense struggled against that Chiefs defense. So I want to see how the Lions perform offensively against this Buccaneers defense. I'm looking at the Buccaneers defense. They give up 88 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 5th in the NFL. So it's going to be strength on strength in this game. The Buccaneers' elite run defense against the Lions' elite rushing attack with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. So that's going to be key in this game. That being said, because the Buccaneers are in Detroit and they are dealing with a bunch of injuries, I believe the Detroit Lions will beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Monday night in Detroit. I'm going Lions 28, Buccaneers 17.